Hi, and welcome to the 2018 Point in Time Count Volunteer Training video. You are probably watching this video because you're volunteering to help us make sure that everyone counts. On behalf of Housing Alliance Delaware and the Delaware Continuum of Care, thank you. Now let's get started. The Point in Time Count is a one-night snapshot of people experiencing homelessness in Delaware. We're conducting the count on the night of January 31st, and then also on the following day, February 1st, to try to make sure we didn't miss anyone the night before. During the point in time count, we only survey people who are literally homeless. This means that they're sleeping in one of the following locations on the night of January 31st. They may be sleeping in an unsheltered location, so on a street or a bench or in a park, or any other place not meant for human habitation, such as a vehicle, a car, a van, a bus, in an abandoned building, or other type of location like a shed. They may also be sleeping in an emergency shelter or a code purple shelter somewhere in our state. It also includes people who are sleeping in transitional housing programs for people who are experiencing homelessness, or if they're staying in a motel that's been paid for by a charitable organization or the state of Delaware. On February 1st, we also visit service sites where people who are experiencing homelessness might go for services. This helps us identify people who may have been sleeping outside the night before, but were unable to be located that night. You should have already received your volunteer assignment and know where you are expected to show up and when. If you have not, please call Housing Alliance Delaware anytime to find out. Now let's cover some of the basics of conducting the point in time count. First is confidentiality. This is of the utmost importance. As a volunteer, you'll be conducting a survey with someone about their living situation and in the process collecting some very personal information. You are expected and required to keep all of this personal information private and in the utmost confidence. Also, never take photos of anyone. Just don't do it. Next, safety. Rule of thumb, safety always comes first. If you're joining an outdoor team, always stay with your team and never go off alone. You'll be with a team leader who is experienced and has done this before, so follow his or her lead and don't be afraid to ask questions. Make sure to bring a flashlight with you and keep your cell phone on and charged. If you're with the team who is entering an area where people are sleeping outside, remember that this is someone's home for the night. We respect their space and their dignity and do not want to startle anyone. So always ask permission before entering their personal space. Now let's cover some of the basic do's and don'ts. Do always make sure that the person you're surveying has not been surveyed by someone else. Yes, everyone counts, but they only count once. Also, let people know that they don't have to answer every question. If there's a question they don't want to answer, that's totally fine. And if they change their mind at any point, all they have to do is say so, and the survey will be over. If you have a goodie bag or donations with you, make sure to give them out. These gifts are kind and helpful and also help people feel encouraged to participate in the survey. But make sure everyone gets something, whether or not they agree to participate. Now for the don'ts. Don't force people to take the survey. Don't ever wake people up by touching them or startling them. If someone really doesn't want to wake up, don't force them. They're probably very exhausted and really in need of rest. And don't promise people housing or services as a result of taking the survey. Now, let's talk about the survey itself. You can encourage people to take the survey by letting them know that they can stop at any time and it should only take a few minutes. But as we said, don't ever make someone feel like they're required to participate. If someone does not want to take the survey or wake up, you can still observe them so that they get counted using the observation tool. But this is only for people on an outdoor team. Only outdoor teams use the observation tool, and your team will have copies with you that night. If you are surveying someone in a shelter environment or at a service site, always make sure to fill out the information about the type of program where you are conducting the survey. This is very important. Equally important is the location. So don't forget to write down the city and the county where the survey is being conducted. The full survey is 6 pages long and has 4 separate sections. But the most important section by far is the demographics section. If you can get this information, this is by far the most important because it helps us identify the person and count them. While conducting the survey, you'll see instructions. Follow the instructions. That part's pretty straightforward. But sometimes it can be hard when you're in the middle of talking to people at the same time. So if you get confused while performing the survey, just do your best and try to get the most and best information that you can. Sometimes it can help to review what you wrote down right after you do the survey to make sure that what you put down on paper while talking to the person actually makes sense. Some of the questions in the survey are very personal. You should never ask anyone to elaborate or explain anything. The answers yes and the answer no are full answers. And not to be rude, but it's kind of none of your business. The very last question on the survey asks if the person is currently homeless because they are fleeing domestic violence or sexual violence. This question is extremely sensitive. If someone does not want to answer, they do not need to answer. But if someone says yes, please be aware that the release of this information could potentially lead to very serious safety risks for the individual or family. So do not, under any circumstances, share this information with anyone ever. One last note about the survey. If you are surveying people at a service site on February 1st, you are only surveying people who were sleeping outside the night before and were not approached, counted, or surveyed. So the first 2 questions on the first page of that survey are critical questions. If the person was sleeping in a shelter, do not survey them. If the person was sleeping on a friend's couch, do not survey them. Make sure you follow the instructions. If the person says, well, yeah, someone came by last night when I was sleeping outside with a flashlight and talked to me for a few minutes, don't survey them. We are looking forward to working with you on this very important initiative. If for some reason you find out you can no longer volunteer, please let us know immediately. And if you have any other questions or concerns at all, just contact us. So that's it. Thank you for helping our state help people who are experiencing homelessness.